Summer Games Fest is just around the corner, and last year I did a video breaking down the entire event, looking at what games appealed to me and what games didn't. After that I gave each conference a grade on not only how appealing the games looked, but the quality of the event itself. But it's one thing to hype everyone up with a bunch of trailers, it's another thing to completely deliver on them. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to run through every single game I talked about last year and see what happened to them, if my predictions about the games were correct. If I skipped talking about anything last year for whatever reason, I'm skipping them again this year too. Then at the end we'll do some upcoming predictions for fun. So we've got a lot to cover today, so let's get straight into it. Starting off with Sony, Spider-Man 2 was easily Sony's flagship game coming into the 2023 holiday period, and of course Insomniac knocked it out of the park. I know some people had some problems with the overall narrative of the game, but the game was generally very, very well received. Bungie dropped a trailer for Marathon, which is intended to be a PvPvE extraction shooter. The trailer was really cool, but it didn't show anything, and the game got delayed to 2025 so Bungie could finish working on the new Destiny expansion. Other than that, there's nothing been said about the game, and after all the controversy with the handling of Destiny's live service and the recent layoffs at Bungie, it's not looking too hopeful for this game. I hope to see some gameplay this year sometime. Similarly, Fair Games has also had no news since last Summer Games Fest. Like Marathon, you would hope that there is some gameplay soon because the heist genre is ripe for a new king after Payday 3 happened. Helldivers 2, I don't think I need to say anything about this one. It came out, it was great, and I totally called it. The Sony shenanigans almost made this part very awkward to talk about, but luckily it all got sorted before I had to do this video. Ghost Runner 2 came out to a mostly favourable reception, with most criticisms being due to the game's length, and the game generally just not being as fine-tuned as the first one. The only news on Phantom Blade Zero we got was a mostly 2D animated trailer with an announcement from the devs that a demo was coming and a reassurance that the game is real, which is a totally normal thing to say and doesn't set off any red flags at all. Sword of the Sea has also had next to no news about it. The only thing I could find was a couple of Twitter posts every now and then from the developers asking people to wishlist the game. I reckon a new trailer will have to be forthcoming this year. Never is also in the same boat, last mentioned by the Devolver Digital Twitter account in January, and nothing really since. Did Foam Stars come out? Uh-oh. It did? This game sits with a mediocre score on Metacritic. It got launched alongside Helldivers 2, which is probably why I and the rest of the world forgot this game even existed. The Plucky Squire has also not come out yet, but thankfully has had news. The game had a gameplay trailer drop in February and looks like an actual real game that'll be coming out. And you know what? It still looks okay. Metal Gear Delta has had not much news going for it. David Hayter, the voice actor for Snake, has played some of it and liked it, so I guess that's something. Towers of Agaspa, no news. This is a shame, I really liked the look of this one. Holy shit, finally, a game that actually came out. Alan Wake 2 did come out and it was very positively received and even won a couple of design awards. Unfortunately, still an Epic exclusive on PC, so I hope they pop that bad boy onto Steam sometime in the future because probably not going to play it until then. The next game we have is Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. This game also came out to positive reviews and, this game does not look like it's in my wheelhouse at all, but I'm glad it appealed to the people it went for. Dragon's Dogma 2 also came out and was generally well received for its gameplay and visuals, but it was panned for its needless microtransactions and general bugginess. Also, that whole save game thing was really, really weird. As I said before, the Destiny expansion got delayed due to fan backlash on how Bungie have been recently handling the game. I'm not really up to speed on anything to do with this game. I know that if this expansion flops, then Bungie are in really, really big trouble. Last up for Sony, we have another trailer for a game with no news and nothing to go off, and that is Concord. Does anyone remember this? The reason I ask is because this was a purely cinematic trailer that showed no gameplay, made by a studio with no track record, with vague details purely confined to a press release. And it's supposedly meant to release this year. Now, I don't doubt that the game is real, because it's a first-party Sony game, but I'm curious as to why they even announced this last year if they weren't going to continue marketing it. I had completely forgotten about this game until I started making this video, and I actually liked the trailer. There was no momentum built off of it. As a wise man once said, no game, no hype, those are the rules. And that's it for Sony, so let's recap. Of the 17 games I looked at from last year from the Sony conference, 7 of them have been released. Now, when it comes to the other 10, 2 were delayed, once and one of them to 2025, while the other games have had little to no news about it. You would expect that when Sony does their next big, showcase, that these games should all get release dates, and especially Concord, because I don't like this picture that I'm seeing here. I think the reason that Sony has been catching so much flack recently is because there are rumors that they're wanting to do a mid-generation console update, and people are still wondering where their video games are. Moving on to the main Summer Games Fest event, this one started off with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and this game released in January to decent reviews, despite it not quite being what people wanted, and that's a remake of Sands of Time, I'm guessing. It certainly pleased Metroidvania fans. Mortal Kombat 1. Oh man, I was so wrong about everything. I mean, this game still looks great, but far out, why is it so expensive and money hungry? The big 3 fighting games all released a game this year, and they all looked so good, but Mortal Kombat 1 was a disappointment to fans. Tekken 8 added a post-launch microtransaction shop on top of an already expensive season pass, and Street Fighter 6 was well received gameplay wise, but also suffered from predatory microtransactions and performance issues on PC. It's hard to look at, really. And I wouldn't be surprised if these big franchises start to hemorrhage players once the Riot Fighter comes out. Path of Exile 2, this game had some news trickle out over the last year, no news of a release date, but more information and class reveals are rumoured for this year's event, and probably in the PC gaming show. Witchfire entered early access on the Epic Games Store. There are not many reviews for this one. The Epic Store rating is a 4.6 out of 5, which seems good, but take that with a grain of salt. The small sample of actual reviewers that looked at this game puts it at a little bit more mixed, but there's not much to go off of here. Remnant 2 came out and it was great, and the world seems to have forgotten it existed, which is pretty par for the course when it comes to Remnant games. It's a super underrated series. Sonic Superstars came out to a mixed reception, which is no real surprise to anybody after they saw the price of the damn thing. Lies of P released and is currently hailed as one of the best Souls-like games that wasn't made by FromSoft. I'm not a fan of Souls-likes, so this one wasn't for me, but the story of its success makes me happy because it looked so damn cool. I was almost going to try it, even though I'm not a fan of Souls-like, so, I'm happy for these guys. Sandland. Yeah, look, I, like many others, were shocked and saddened by Akira Toriyama's passing over the past year, and while nothing he could make would ever surpass the heights of Dragon Ball, I think he would have been happy at the majoritively positive reception to this game. Throne and Liberty. When this game was shown at Summer Games Fest, it was just after its disastrous test that got clowned on so hard. Or what was it, the auto leveling grinding thing that was going on? I also clowned on it in my video, but funnily enough, the game actually seems to be turning itself around. I mean, it's still developed by NCSoft, who can not be trusted in the slightest. This one's turned from a no to a wait and see situation though. Crash Team Rumble. Oh man, it felt like we were entering a Crash renaissance. The Insane trilogy was excellent, and Crash 4 was pretty great, and same with the Crash Team Racing remake. And then we got Crash Team Rumble. Who was this for? Evidently nobody, because the game only lasted 9 months before development stopped on its live service. Live service multiplayer games are such a huge crapshoot, and it was way too early to try something like this with the franchise. Warhaven. This game released on Steam in September of 2023 and closed down in April of 2024. I played a little of this one during one of the betas, but latency really stopped me from being able to enjoy any of it. Look, there isn't much to say about this one. It peaked at 10,000 players on launch on Steam and then lost 85% of it in a month. And then by the end of December of last year, it couldn't even manage more than 300 peak daily players. Space Marine 2. Despite being listed for a 2023 release, Space Marine 2 got delayed to September of this year. The game still looks good, but we'll just have to wait and see how this one goes. Not much news to announce with John Carpenter's Toxic Commandos, apart from the fact that there is a prequel comic that is currently being released, and that's pretty much the only news that this game has got. Palworld. Last time I talked about this game was in January, and I got my most disliked video ever made on this channel. Short story is, it came out and people loved it, but I didn't. I will revisit this game if my opinion changes, but for now, I think it's okay to say that audiences generally liked this one. Black Desert Online expansion or patch. I supposedly leaked financial report says that Black Desert Online had an increase of profits of around 11% over the last year. And I guess that could be attributed to whatever this expansion or patch was. As a side note, that same leaked report also hinted that Crimson Desert will be released in early 2025 and that DokeV will be coming within a year of that. Remember DokeV? Like, cause I do. I see it in my nightmares. Minds of Moria. This one came out. Okay. I have a huge blind spot when it comes to game releases, and it's called Epic Store Exclusives. I open this launcher maybe like once a month, and most of the time I'm just collecting free games that I'll never play and then closing it down again. So if something releases that I'm already not interested in during that time, it's just gonna slip through the cracks. Though it seems unlike Witchfire, some mainstream outlets actually reviewed this one, and it's, you know, it's a bit mixed. Final Fantasy VII Gacha Game. The least surprising fact I can mention about this game is that it was released to a mixed reception. The most surprising one to me is that this game surpassed 7 million downloads, and it just kind of makes me sad. Like a Dragon, the man who erased his name. I've actually played this one. Not a whole lot, but I like it. And a lot of others seem to like it as well. I might be biased, but these guys just don't mess with their games. Under the Way is released to mixed to positive reviews. A lot of people praised the story but criticised the gameplay, but if your game is meant to be narratively led, then I think it's a good thing that people are liking that side of the game. Bay Farm shaped up to be a solid inclusion to the farming genre, sporting a mostly positive reception on Steam. I feel like this genre of games is pretty hard to fuck up, so... King Arthur Legends Rise. I don't blame anyone for not remembering this one, but this is a mobile-only gacha game that released into a beta, but it also had in-app purchases enabled during that time. Around a week ago, the developers decided to shut off access to the game and refund all the purchases made so that they could reconfigure the game as they were unhappy with it. By all means, no beta version of a game should have in-app purchases enabled, but the fact that the developers are seemingly working making sure refunds are all done automatically is good, or they just don't want to be sued. Wayfinder is also a pretty wild ride. This game had an infamously terrible launch, which led to the game publisher pulling out of the project. I was originally going to do a review on the game, but it was in such a bad shape. I didn't have the confidence to really analyze everything that was like happening with the game, what was wrong with it and why it wasn't right. As time went on, the game was eventually shut down and is now being reworked to remove its live service elements and is being relaunched as a single player game with optional co-op and removing all microtransactions. And by the time this video comes out, the relaunch will be a week or so away. So it's too early to say if this directional pivot will work. I don't think this is what people wanted, but you know, I'm hoping for the best because, you know, there were things to like about this game and game preservation does matter, so I'm glad that some part of this game is going to be surviving. Lisfunga this game looked great, and while it seems like the reviews are generally positive, I don't think this game did very well. The amount of Steam reviews and lack of user reviews on Metacritic is kind of concerning. I did try this game, but unfortunately my PC was just not vibing with this one and it was just crashing so much I could not get it to a stable place. Probably more of a me problem than the game though. Immortals of Avium was a huge flop, and unfortunately it has cost a lot of people their jobs, and the general consensus with this game is that it is just kind of mid and the game costs too much money to be what it is. Maybe the game might see a resurgence now that it is coming to Game Pass. That huge upfront costs will no longer be an issue, but it feels like the studio that made this is already toasted. Finally, we have Final Fantasy Remake Part 2, and this game surprisingly didn't do that great yet. The game was released as a timed exclusive for the PS5, and while it's been critically a big hit, the lack of worldwide availability has really hurt this one, only selling half of what the first part of the remake did. I imagine those sales may go up once it opens to PC, but I doubt it'll be enough to reach the same amount that the first part did. So after the end of the Jeff Fest, we have 25 games, and 4 of which are yet to release, but at least none of these have been completely radio silent. We've also had 2 games release and then get unreleased so they can be reworked, as well as 2 live service games that are released and died in under a year. Although the Crash game can still be played, but Warhaven just fully dead. Even though I wasn't too much of a fan of the event last year, I think this is a very good ratio of games that have actually released and been playable. You know, sure, not all of them are winners, but we have games to play, so definitely an improvement over Sony. Xbox had a decent showcase last year. The commitment to bringing everything to Game Pass was what really sold me, and now they're kind of enemy number 1 in the gaming community. I'm interested in how they will go this year with all the terrible press just directly on them. But Microsoft have like 5 IPs that they could break out in case of an emergency, ranging from Banjo-Kazooie to Crash, and we'll know that they'll be desperate if Conker shows up. So let's get into it. Fable is pretty much radio silent since last year. I don't doubt Xbox will be showcasing it this year though. South of Midnight is in the same boat. Loved the animation in the trailer, but we know nothing. 33 Immortals has been hosting closed alphas, and as far as I can tell, the game is coming along. When it's actually coming though, who's to say? Starfield was Starfield. I think this one was well enough documented that I don't have to say anything about it. Payday 3, holy shit. Funny how I put this one as a wait. I think it was a mistake, but yeah, like what happened? What happened to this game? This probably should have been a sure thing, right? It's very telling that Payday 2 has more concurrent players than the new game still, this long after launch. Avowed has had some updates, but they didn't look great. No release date yet. I still want to believe that this game will be good. Obsidian generally makes good games. Hellblade 2 will be releasing around the same time as this video goes live. I'm betting it will be good, but editor me will throw something here to say what the consensus is. Like a Dragon 8, I've barely played it, and I've intentionally stayed away from hearing about this one because I actually really want to experience it for myself when I get the time. I know it's already been out for 3 months. I'm just busy. Fallout 76 has had this big resurgence. People actually like this game now, and with the release of the Fallout show, the game hit a new peak player count, which is pretty insane. Forza Motorsport should have been a slam dunk, but the Steam reviews put this at a 40% mixed. It seems like the PC version of this game is not going well, and there's a lot of pushback over the always online nature of the game. Overwatch 2. I was always kind of baffled at how mismanaged Overwatch was as a game, but to do it all again a second time and worse is a level of incompetence that is just absolutely astounding. Persona 5 Tactica is okay as a game. It doesn't really appeal to anyone who doesn't already like Persona 5, and it doesn't do enough for the fans of the universe either. But if you accept that fact, then there is a fun game here, just don't expect too much. Jusant is short and sweet, and in the spirit of that, I actually bought the expansion day one for this game, and I'm still yet to play it. I do not know what's wrong with me. The only experience I've had with Cyberpunk was when I played it during the first week of the release, and I liked the game back then. I'm yet to play the fixed version. Overall, like, Cyberpunk seems to have redeemed itself. City Skylines 2 was another one of those seemed like a slam dunk kind of games, but they dropped the ball and tripped into a volcano. One of the funniest things to come from this game was that the developers deleted DLC that people paid for from the game, and in turn it broke many people's games because it was just full of missing assets. This new Atlas game got a big showcase, going pretty in depth with the game, and it will be releasing in October of this year. I've gone from a yes on this game to a maybe. Soul Hackers 2 kind of reevaluated how I look at non-Persona Atlas games. Towerborn got a gameplay video on IGN, and this game looks even more Castle Crashers than I initially thought. That's a good thing. Rounding us off is Blockwork Revolution, which has disappointingly had no news or updates. But the developer's YouTube channel is being used for like weird skits, and I honestly don't know what to say about this. This is really weird. At the end of the Xbox showcase, we have 18 games / expansions, 7 of which are not out yet, which is kind of like a reverse Sony, but if we're being honest, most of these games we do have are kind of awful. Microsoft, you need more good video games. Maybe stop indiscriminately firing your development studios and they might actually make you some. Better yet, market the games that you do have in your catalog that are actually fucking good. And look, I had to cut this rant short for time. I'll leave it for the Summer Games video. I'm not done with you, Xbox. And if I don't see a Crash Twinsanity remake in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to tear you a new one. Moving on to Day of the Devs, let's do a quick lightning round to knock out this one. Beastie Ball is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is fairly active. Hyper Light Breaker is not out yet, but early access is slated for summer, and I'm super excited, and I'll be breathing the copium that this game will shadow drop during the Summer Games Fest. Simpler Times is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is still fairly active. Viewfinder is out, and this game did very well critically and won a whole bunch of awards. Haunty is not out yet, but it will be on 24th of May. This game is very much still on my radar, and I will be playing it when it comes out. Hellsgate is out and released into early access to decent reviews. Development and updates seem to be very active, which is great, but I reckon I'm going to continue to wait on this one until it's in full release. Halfhead Henry, or Henry Halfhead, is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is fairly active. Cocoon is out, and this game did very well critically as well, and also won a whole bunch of awards. Ete is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is fairly active, and it seems like this one will be in the Wholesome Direct lineup this year. Alright folks, sing along if you know the words. Summerhill is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is fairly active. Alright, 10 games, Day of the Devs, and 7 of them are unreleased, although Haunty is close and Hyperlight Breaker also seems close. And I'd imagine Ete will get a release date in the Wholesome Direct this year. The 3 games that did release all seem to be critical hits. Look, game development is hard, and indie game development is harder. I'm not going to shit on any of these devs for not being able to get their game out or marketed it correctly. They're busy making their games, and I'm rooting for their success. Devolver Digital are infamous for their batshit insane showcases, but they do know that we like games and game trailers, so we got some of those as well. Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood came out in August last year and has been received very positively. This game has been on my backlog forever, and one day I'll actually play it. Sludge Life 2 released in June of last year to very positive reviews. I did try the demo for this one, but it wasn't for me. But I can't deny that people really vibe with this one. Karma Zoo was a game I was super excited for, and unfortunately it came out at a time where I was extremely busy and I never got around to actually playing it. The player count for this game is looking very grim, and it's possible I'll never be able to play the game as intended, which is a shame because this one looked extremely special. Hellboy came out to a mixed reception, and just like Hellboy himself, I think you need to have a vested interest in this one. Wizard with a Gun is a game I have played and did like. The game has an extremely charming art style with some fun, yet a little repetitive gameplay. I think just a little more variance with the weapons and a few more bullet combos would have gone a long way with this one. Talos Principle 2 came out and was received very, very well. I've never played any of these games, but there's a market for them because each time they come out, they seem to do very, very well. Baby Steps hasn't had any news since a trailer dropped for the PlayStation Showcase around 8 months ago. I think I saw somewhere that this game was releasing in a few months, but I couldn't find that info again after I first saw it, so take that with a grain of salt. And last up we have Human Fall Flat 2, which was delayed to 2026. Ah man, I was really excited for this one. Devolver had 6 out of 8 come out, and that's not bad. I just kind of wish more people played Karma Zoo though. That one, it hurts to see. Tribeca. You know what, I still don't know what a Tribeca is, and now I'm too afraid to ask. Highland Song had a positive reception on release, but more recent reviews put it at mixed. The best I could tell is that there's some frustrating design decisions in the game. Goodbye Volcano High released and was received very well. Praised for its art style and music. It doesn't seem like the story hit for everyone who played it, but overall the Sad Dinosaur game did sad dinosaur things. Chance of Sonar did very well. 98% positive reviews on Steam with 12k ratings is an unreal success. I called it an interesting little puzzle game, and this is a reminder that you should probably not take my predictions very seriously. Nightscape is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter, I predicted the Stray Gods would live or die based on its music, and it looks like it lived. And even recently got an announcement for some DLC, which is great because even though it's not my cup of tea, the premise and the creativity of it sounded great, and the art looks fantastic. The Telltale Expanse game got released. It was mixed to positive reception depending on where you look, better than what I put it at. Dispelote is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is Tribeca. 5 out of 7 games released and they were all pretty well received. These games are more niche and I'm still not really interested in really any of them, but I'm glad that they're all able to find their audiences. PC Gaming Show, let's go. Frostpunk 2 has gotten a release date for July. All signs seem to be good here, but we will just have to wait and see. Nivalis is not out yet, but the developers have started doing monthly community blogs on their Steam store page. This one still looks like it's probably a while away though. Road to Vostok's development has been well documented on their Twitter. There are a lot of updates, and I think it's just better to say it's it's coming along. Sulphur has not got a release date yet, but a demo did pop up on the store for March. The buzz from this one seems to be pretty positive. I thought I had this game on my wish list. Weird. Sailblazers launched into early access late September of last year, and it seems to be doing well with an 84% positive on Steam. I was excited for this one. I'll have to give it a go sometime. PAX Day got into the hands of players in an alpha test last week. Reception seems to be good, but a lot of sentiment is that it's not really ready for early access yet. This is certainly a wait and see, I think. I had one question after watching the trailer for Stampede Racing Royale, and it was, how do you do this without it being a laggy clusterfuck? I got to play one of the public playtests for this game, and it didn't answer my question. When playing the playtest, the most amount of players I got in one race was about 5. My thoughts back then were fairly negative, and I'm hoping since then that the developers have been working hard on the game. Timing the release will be the hardest part of making sure that this game will get a good audience and survive. Ferocious was the game that looked like Far Cry with dinosaurs. It's not out yet, but the game has news and updates on their Steam page, so it's not dead. Islands of Insights released in February to decent reviews, was supposedly commercially unsuccessful, which sucks. Nahale Books Dungeon Masters released to a mixed reception, mostly due to bugs and game mechanics not working as intended. Played a bit of the previous game in this franchise and I kind of loved it. It's a bit sad to see this one struggle a bit because it's got a really unique sense of humor, which is really fun. Warhammer Realms of Ruin also released to a mixed reception, most pointing out the fact that the game looks great, but it suffers in the gameplay department. I could have sworn that Critic Grove already came out, but I think I got this confused with Coral Island. Critic Grove looks like it isn't far away, with a demo coming soon and the game should be following shortly after. They're kind of running out of time on that Q2 release though. Undead Inc. did not do well, releasing earlier this month to a 26% positive rating on Steam, which is a big woof. Critics on Metacritic were a little bit kinder, but 5 reviews is not a big enough sample size to really take seriously. The Invincible released to mostly positive reviews. I haven't gotten to try this one yet, but it is on my wish list. It's a narrative-led walking sim game, and a lot of the positives and negatives people are talking about come from that fact. Park Beyond came out to a mixed reception last year. This game needed to give us a reason to play this over Planet Coaster or even Roller Coaster Tycoon. Park Beyond looks to be a buggy mess of a game, and maybe one day it could become good. We'll just have to see. Parcel Cause is not out yet. This is a game I feel we'll probably see sometime in this year's Summer Games Fest. Chimera is a game I couldn't find any news on, and maybe because it's now called Star Rupture, this game is still a long way off, it looks like. Exo Rally is a game that piqued my interest last year. The Steam page for this game has had regular updates and there is a demo coming soon, but the exact date is still TBD. I'll try and keep an eye on this one. Stormgate is not out yet, which is unsurprising due to how unfinished it looked last year. I will admit though, this one has some positive buzz coming from players from their playtest. Hell Let Loose was already out for 2 years. I didn't really like the trailer last year, so I did absolutely no research on it. I guess that one's on me. Baldur's Gate 3. Yep, Ember Knights is fantastic. I have actually played quite a bit of this game and it is absolutely worth your time. The Steam reviews also seem to be very positive on this one, and there have been multiple updates to the game since release. It's in a very healthy state and it's worth your time. Macabre hasn't been completely radio silent. There are quite a few news updates going around. The latest being that there is a gameplay trailer coming soon, as well as a Kickstarter. Based on the trailer last year, I thought the game was much further along than what the news updates seem to be hinting at. The horror game with Muppets launched to very decent reviews. I remember seeing this one do the rounds on Twitch. Happy to see it was successful, but it still doesn't look like it was really for me. Bloomtown has been on my radar. Release date is still TBD. There is a demo that I've been meaning to get around to trying. Just like a lot of things, it seems to be falling by the wayside. Sand is a game I could not find anything about because the name is fucking Sand. Dune Awakening is still coming. The development team has stated it is going to take as long as it takes to come out, which is a good stance to have when developing games, as long as it turns out to be good in the end. Just like the PC gaming show itself, this one was long. Here's what we got: 27 games and 16 of which are yet to be released. Most of these games have steady development updates or release dates coming soon though, which is good. Of the 11 games we got, most were positively received, and Baldur's Gate was Game of the Year, so at least PC gaming show has got that going for it. Ubisoft. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora released to a mixed reception. X-Defiant is releasing this week, or has released this week, and I reckon I'll be doing a video on it, or there will already be a video on it, depending on how long this one takes to make. You know what, there were 2 Division games in development. There was a shitty mobile game and a free-to-play survival shooter. Which game do you think they cancelled? And the shitty mobile game is still slated to come out sometime soon. Skull and Bones was a super flop and probably a money laundering scheme. I won't say definitively it is because I will get sued. They called this the world's first quadruple A title and put out a game with less features than most like AA titles, which is rough. The Crew Motorfest. I don't care if this game is good. It's not. After what Ubisoft did to the first Crew, nobody should buy this game, or really any Ubisoft game. Star Wars Outlaws is coming in August. The game looks alright, but I'm just gonna put this image on the screen for a bit and just, let that settle. 6 games from Ubisoft, 2 with mixed reception, 1 very rough pirate game, and very mixed, which is very on brand for Ubisoft. Capcom! Mega Man X Dive was a live service gacha game that had its live service terminated, but was converted into a standalone offline game. It feels wrong to celebrate something that should be the norm, but good job Capcom. Games deserve to be preserved, even shitty gacha games. Pragmata is in the wind currently. The game seems to be going through development hell. Ghost Trick is still not my thing, but not even I could deny the achievement that positive response to this game has gotten. Apollo Justice, the Ace Attorney game, released in January and had a very positive reception. I don't think this was a surprise to anyone ever. Exoprimal was well received critically, but not commercially. I watched a friend of mine play this and it looked pretty fun. I'd say played on Game Pass. The Steam store prices look absurd as hell. I gave this showcase an F last year, mostly because it was just a waste of time to put on a showcase and not show enough games. But 4 out of 5 games were actually released, when the 5th was a delay that was announced in the trailer last year, and that's a good batting average. Future Game Show. This one has the chance to be the most ironically named showcase, so let's see how the future turned out, shall we? Resistor was one of my best in show for me last year. I was excited as hell. It's a shame this game has been mostly radio silent. Star Trucker has been chugging along with the demo coming out on the day that I'm writing the script. Lords of Fallen had a decent critic reception, but the user reviews tend to be a little bit more mixed. Look, maybe the 3rd time's a charm for this franchise. Headbangers was actually pretty fun. Its staying power was limited and the game is effectively dead now. It's a shame. This one is a super fun game. Steel Seed recently dropped a longer look at gameplay. I'm still not impressed. Go Fight Fantastic released late March, and based on the amount of Steam reviews and the Metacritic reviews, it didn't do that well, but they do trend towards more positive than negative. Alaskan Road Truckers released to a mixed reception. To no one's surprise, I don't think, but the top Steam review for this game states that there are a mixture of different countries' road signs throughout the game, which to me is like one of the funniest things ever. The Bookwalker was received very well. I still have no interest in it. Life by You is slated to be released on June 4th. I don't know what to say about this one. It still looks like it's a huge train wreck in the making. I honestly hope they prove me wrong. I don't root for games to be bad. All signs point to no for this one still. Leica released to decent reviews. I'm still looking to give this game a go when I get a chance. It looks fantastic. Enchanted Portals released to mostly negative reviews. I don't understand what they were thinking with this one. Cuphead was so good because it had so much love and care and hard work refining the animation, the gameplay, and literally everything. Why try and replicate that and do literally everything Cuphead did and then do it worse? What was the point? Moving Out 2 is a game I am yet to play, still a bit expensive for my taste. The reviews are mixed to positive and a lot of reviews are aimed at the buggy multiplayer. Odenfall looks like to be coming along. They had a playtest over the latest Steam event, but I'm struggling to find anyone actually talking about it. SteamWorld released in December and sits at a mostly positive. This game seems to be a more casual kind of city builder, some people finding its mechanics are just a little bit lacking. Dayman 1994 released in August to middling reviews, a sort of throwback to Resident Evil games, but people are finding the game mechanics to be a bit too clumsy and non-refined. Roughly in the Riverside is not out yet, but the developer's Twitter is still very active. I played a demo for Stick It to the Stickman a while back and liked it. The game is still not out yet, but hopefully we'll have some more news on this one soon. Tribeca. Oh right, the chicken house game. This game recently had a demo come out on Steam, but I can't find much more about it apart from this like hour-and-a-half gameplay video, which I don't have time to watch, but it's good to have some form of like raw gameplay out there to help people make like an informed decision on before they buy the game. Pacific Drive came out and was received very positively. I remember SkillUp talking a lot about this game. I like seeing a game as unique as this getting the love it deserves. Cookie Cutter released in December. It's on my backlog. A lot of people are praising the art style for this one, but criticizing the combat. And like 10 other games I've already mentioned, this one is, one that I want to try, I just haven't gotten around to yet. Future Games Fest sported 20 games of which I covered last year, with 12 of those being released and a 13th releasing soon, but that one scares me. Reception is a little mixed, but it is still a decent showing, I feel like. OTK. So I did this thing last year where I looked at a bunch of games, said I liked a lot of them, and then forgot to wishlist them and keep tabs on them. Atomic Picnic is a game that had a playtest in April that I really would have liked to have played if I kept tabs on it. That's on me. Alien Hominid Invasion is a pretty fun time, if not a bit scattered and chaotic. It was released in November to decent reviews. I gave it a shot and I'm liking it so far. Soul Walker's development was quote-unquote paused so the developer could work on a similar but smaller scope game. But based on the announcement, things don't look good for this game and we are not going to see or hear from it from a long time. Turnip Boy robbed a bank and managed to grab some extremely positive reviews while doing so. I gave the demo for Botti Byteland a go and I was looking forward to this one. I love those older action-adventure platformer games, and this one looked exactly what I was after, but alas, it was not to be. This game went on to garner some mixed to positive reviews. I will stand by the art style, looks great for this game, but there just need to be some more gameplay refinements. Slope Crashers is a game I think I tried. I don't actually remember. Either way, development looks like it's coming along alright. Demon Spoil got a demo for Steam Next Fest in February, but there hasn't been much news on the game since. The game has been doing the rounds at conventions, but no news on a release date yet. Twitter is the first place I look for updates from indie devs, and Elements is no exception. But this one seems to be showing a lot of different clips, newly implemented features very often, and it's something that's really charming to look at. That being said, this game looks like it's very far away from being done. Evercore Heroes. Turns out cooperative, competitive PvE was not a big enough draw. This game went into maintenance mode shortly after its closed beta launched, and it is currently being repurposed into a more standard co-op action RPG roguelike. I wish them the best. 9 games, and only 3 of those have made it so far. Now, I want to ask anyone watching, do you remember any of these games? I realised how I had forgotten a lot of these games, and partially that's my fault. I forgot to set up a way to keep an eye on a lot of them. The thing is that it feels like a lot of hype from these trailers and from Summer Games Fest as a whole is very fleeting. If you don't remember the games from these trailers, then what was the point of putting them in there in the first place? Last year, Wholesome Indie Games had 80 games in their spotlight, and I feel bad for skipping over a lot of it and speedrunning it last year, but there is just too many games to accurately cover, so I'm gonna do it again. Looks like this year they are tuning it down a bit and going with only 70 games, which is a step in the right direction, I guess. Alright, ladies and gents, mostly gents based on my analytics, it's the final stretch. Let's do this. Minico's Night Market was released in September to very positive reviews. Pretty much every Steam review, even the negative ones, praise how cute this game is. Pekoe released into early access shortly after the Summer Games Fest last year to positive reviews. The game is getting monthly news updates and the game seems to be chugging along pretty fine. Button City Soccer Days does not have a release date yet, but if you check the developer's Twitter, fairly active. Frog Song was released after the Summer Games Fest last year and had very positive reviews. A lot of people are liking the gay frogs. I Am a Caterpillar. The game hasn't been released yet, but the developer's Twitter. Moonstone Island released in September. I'll admit I have almost picked this one up a couple of times on sale. Every now and then I feel like you need a farming sim in your life to just kind of mentally reset. Last time I chose Bandle City Tales, but this one is on my list for next time. Station to Station released in October to very positive reviews. The reviewers point towards the gorgeous voxel art and the cozy nature of the game as its standout traits, which are the same 2 things I pointed out that I liked last year from the trailer. Usagi Shima launched onto the Google Play Store and seems to be doing alright. I don't really trust the review scores from this site. A lot of reviews point to the very cozy nature and stress-reducing qualities of the game though. The other Frog game has set its release window to sometime in the middle of this year. The last update for Gauntlet came at the beginning of May, and there was a demo in August of last year, but that was a long time ago. The developer's Twitter is, can you guess? Still pretty active though. Smushy came home and brought a whole lot of positive reviews with him. Little Friends Puppy Island came out in late June to 100% positive ratings on Steam. Searching around a bit more, I found the reviews to be a little less one-sided, but they are all still really positive. It's a cute dog game, but it's almost 60 Australian dollars. A lot of people are pointing out to this as a good family game. While the Iron's Hot released in December to decent reception, not a perfect game, but just okay. Fall of Porcupine released in June to a mixed to positive reception. A lot of the praise goes to the art style. A lot of the criticisms are pointed at the bugginess of the game and the third act of the game pretty much just falling apart. Things have been quiet with Wood and Weather. I'm hoping there'll be some more news soon, but so far nothing. Tall Trails is also in the same boat. I kind of really like the minimalist nature of this one. Pizza Possum released in September to rave reviews, a fun, fast-paced couch co-op game, and we need a lot more of those. March of the Shrooms released in November. I still don't know what this game really is, but people seem to really like it. A few major criticisms are mostly thrown at how the game controls. Toastable is another couch play game that did very well critically and released earlier this month. I'll have to keep this one in mind for any future couch play shenanigans, I reckon. And that's that for Wholesome Direct. 19 games, and we got 13 game releases from that, leaving only 6 unreleased. Not that it really matters though, because I only talked about a quarter of the overall games from Wholesome Direct. Because of the amount of games that this showcase showed, it is very easy for really anything to just fall through the cracks. I'm a big supporter of indie games and giving independent creators a spotlight, but far out, man. The quantity just makes it too hard to care about a lot of games here. So what have we learned today? Of the 171 total games I looked at last year, 71 were unreleased in that time, making over a third of games shown being unreleased. Of the 100 released games, 63 had a positive reception, 27 had a mixed reception, and 9 had a negative reception. If you're doing your math correctly, then you know that leaves one left, and that is X-Defiant, which is too early to tell right now. As for my accuracy for predicting the quality of these games, well, I got 62 out of 100, which is, I think, alright, considering I based my prediction last year mostly off of how I would personally like the games. But in the end, it is still a bit of a crapshoot on the quality of what you're going to get. In conclusion, indie developers are a safe bet as long as their games actually get released. Sony puts out good products as long as they actually get released. Xbox puts out more stuff, but the quality is lacking, but they've got nothing on the Jeff Fest because that was a lot of games that were supremely mixed in reception. But on the other hand, there are a lot of games from that conference that you can now play, unless you're thinking about playing King Arthur Legends or Wayfinder or Warhaven. Oops. Alright, so let's do a quick lightning round of predictions to end things off. Summer Games Fest has announced their partners for the event in a couple of weeks, so I'm going to go through each one and rattle off what I predict that they will show. 2K. A lot of people are saying Mafia 4, but my off-the-cuff prediction is another Borderlands game. 2K recently got Gearbox back, and if they really wanted to surprise people, having 2K be the partner and not Gearbox would be the way to catch people off guard. Amazing Season. These guys make anime mobile games, so probably more of that. Amazon Games, I'm gonna say it will be the next Tomb Raider game. Annapurna could really be anything. I've heard they're doing a Blade Runner game, so let's just go with that. Arc Games will probably be Hyper Light Breaker. Atari will finally make the Soldier Boy console a real thing. Okay, not really, but they recently reacquired the rights to Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. They could be announcing a 25th anniversary trilogy re-release or something. Atlas will probably show that game that I can't remember the name of. I think it's called Metaphor. I think Persona 6 is still very far away, so I don't think we're going to see anything about that until maybe next year or the year after. Bandai Namco, I want them to announce Pac-Man World 2 repack, but I reckon it's going to be some more stuff around their new Dragon Ball game. Blumhouse does games now. This will be interesting. I imagine they take advantage of some kind of IP they own, but this is the kind of company that could go out of left field with something completely new. So that would be my prediction, that it's something new, but if it isn't, my wildcard prediction is that these guys are also making the new Five Nights at Freddy's game. Bokeh Studios is a name that I have not heard from in a long time. They will definitely be talking about Slitterhead. Capcom. These guys own so many IPs, I am gonna just go with a new Resident Evil game. It could be fucking anything. It could be new Monster Hunter for all we know. Deep Silver is probably going to be showing off a better look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Devolver, man, this could be anything. Let's just go with Never. This game is definitely due for more news. Discord will probably show off some shitty feature that bloats the software even more than it already has. Dolby, these guys an actual partner? This could be anything. EA, I reckon EA will be showing off the new Dragon Age game. Embark, I'm hoping it will be Arc Raiders. I think that game's about due for more news. Epic Games, I'm just going to go the safe bet and saying it's something to do with Fortnite. Focus Entertainment will be Toxic Commando. Funcom will be the June MMO. Playoverse will probably be Zenless Zone Zero, but probably book multiple slots to show off more Genshin and Honkai Star Rail stuff. I Am 8-Bit, I'm guessing will be a cool retro collector's edition of something. I don't know who Indie Angels are. I don't have a prediction, sorry. Inner Sloth is probably going to be the Among Us TV show. I think Iron Mace are the guys who are doing Dark and Darker, so probably at an early access release date for that game. Giamma are making a Souls-like game I don't remember the name of. It'll be that, I reckon. Level Infinite are probably going to be showing off Exoborn. Seeing as they showed it off at the Video Game Awards last year, it'll probably be more news on that one. Magic the Gathering, I've got no prediction, sorry. Meta, who knows? It's probably too early for a new headset, so I reckon they might just be like an ad partner. NCSoft, it has to be thrown in Liberty. NetEase would be Marvel Rivals. I imagine they want to try and keep this game in everyone's minds, you know, try and hold the hype for this one. Netflix games, this could be anything. Nexon, I reckon we'll be going in with the first Descendant if they're not part of the Embark Arc Raiders reveal. Niantic, the obvious choice would be Pokemon Go, but I think Niantic might be ready to do something new. Party Animals, this might be a going free-to-play announcement. PlayOn, who? These guys own a shit ton of IPs. I'm gonna go with Painkiller. PlayStation, not Sony, weird. It would have to be a first-party game. My soft call is Insomniac's Wolverine, but maybe could be Concord if PlayStation don't do their own showcase. Pocket Pair, it's going to be Power World with some new content updates. Private Division, who are these guys? I reckon they're going to come out with that new, like, Lord of the Rings game that's based around the Shire. Razer is probably just an ad partner, but hopefully they announce a better desktop app. Riot Games, new character for 2XKO and maybe a release date for the game. I'm going to go with a double prediction here and say that the new character is going to be Jinx and that they will double that up with a trailer for Arcane Season 2. S-Game will be Phantom Blade Zero with some quote-unquote real gameplay. Samsung Gaming Hub are probably just going to be shit ads that run throughout the event. Sega. The safe bet is always Sonic, but I think we're going to get the first of those retro remakes they announced a while back, and they'll probably lead with Crazy Taxi. SNK, I can't say that I'm familiar with this lot. I'm guessing these guys will be doing Fatal Fury. Steam. If they announce that the Steam Deck is now officially in Australia, I'm going to be pissed because I just imported one because I was sick of waiting for them to release it in my country. There was a leak about a new third-person MOBA game going around, but I also think that would be under Valve and not the Steam umbrella. Who knows? Let's just go with the new MOBA. Sunlink are the company who made Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Look, I've got nothing for these guys. This could be anything. Supercell are the Clash of Clans people. I don't care what they have to show. If you look at their Wikipedia page, their listed games has a fucking availability tick next to the games, and that should tell you all you need to know about this company. Thunderful is probably going to be a slot for their upcoming SteamWorld game. Timmy are a mobile developer, and we'll just say it's probably the Monster Hunter game that they're working on. Torn Banner are the Chivalry people. I can't imagine that they try and do Chivalry again. I'm gonna say that they're going to be bringing out a new IP, only because Chivalry 2 was a flop, and it feels way too early to try that again. Ubisoft, my prediction is that they will give me back my copy of The Crew. No, that's a bit too unrealistic. It's probably going to be the new Assassin's Creed game. Uncapped. We know that these guys are making an RTS. The question is it a new IP or an existing one? I'm going to go and say it is something new. Warner Brothers. Too early to reveal the sequel to Hogwarts Legacy, I feel like, and too late to try any funny business with the Suicide Squad, so I'm gonna say Wonder Woman. Xbox, they have their whole showcase, so I'm just gonna say Fable as a safe bet, but make it interesting, we'll go with a double, and it's gonna be a surprise announcement for a new Gears of War game. So that's the end of my predictions. We will check in again during my Summer Games Fest roundup to see if any of these predictions were right. And you can all laugh at how wrong I was. And so we have come to the end of the mammoth video that this turned out to be, and we will be doing it again in a few weeks, so look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up, and if you are new, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much to my currently one YouTube member for financially supporting me, and if you feel like these videos are worth supporting financially, you can also do so with a YouTube membership. If you do so, you'll get a shout out at the end of the video and badges next to your name in the comments. And just once again, I wanted to shout out that we have a community Discord. If you feel like joining, you feel like you have some video ideas for me, there's a place to pitch those. I also have a Steam curator page that you can follow for mini reviews for games that don't warrant their own video, so please consider following that as well. Alright, I will see you all in the next video. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Catch you later.